It's also adding it. What? Good. That part at least is skipped. It's still weird. This is strange. Why would it call add input token for something in a different file? And 1.8 macro invocation name. Macro expense. Was not printed. If def is also not printed. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm getting it. is this one. I don't get it. It's like it's being called twice. Here and there. But here it prints MD. And here we print MD itself. So this one is done first. So don't get it. Okay. I cannot remember this. Delete macro expense callbacks. Oh, this is not in my source code. Seriously? There is a fix me in the Clang code. Yeah. It is difficult. Why am I here? Handle identifier. You don't. Uh-huh. Okay, I totally cannot follow this. 7 again. This prints a line number here. And how can I get that? Of course, otherwise you have to do this a few times. I think that's in here. Yeah, it's a bit hard to get a line number, I'm afraid. Pretty hard. It's probably hidden in one of these variables. Maybe lock. Probably lock. Too difficult. Scrolled off. So 190 corresponds with that. Yeah, I should have remembered that instead of 119. Nope, scrolled off again. Okay, it just leaves this function, which is the macro expense function. But no, that was not what I wanted. Damn it. Oh, well, it's good enough. If I do continue, then it breaks in macro expense again. Ah. Again, for the same line. Oh, there is more than one? No, wait a minute. The previous one was exactly the same. This is so weird. So here it printed MD. Here being yeah. It prints identifier blah 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 line 359 comma MD. Is entering preprocessor events handler macro expense identifier at line 359 MD. And now it prints entering preprocessor events handler macro expense identifier at 3597. So exactly the same thing, but no MD. Can someone explain that to me? Because it's hard-coded, the MD. So I have a breakpoint here. This is printed. This is always the code just exists. CW debug is defined. So it prints MD. And then it adds stuff on the same line, and then it adds the closing parenthesis, and then we stop here, and then I see that it printed MD. Then I do a continue, and it breaks in the same line. But this time, it prints something else than MD. What? Completely non-understandable. It's impossible, basically. Completely impossible. Oh, MD is there. Okay. So it did print this line. It did print the line. The macro name talk is larger. So before the macro starts here, probably it's an identifier at macro something, which now includes a location and a spelling location. And then the previous time we had what? Previous time it only printed this, no spelling location. And then after the MD we get a range from there to column 49, followed by a string literal of length 29. Yes. Okay, there's also a range from here to nope, not clear. I don't see the end anymore. There's nothing with a column 49. But yeah, I mean, no matter that it prints something else or it prints two different things for the same thing, as far as I can see, because at least this is the same. It should never call this twice for the same thing. Period. So why does that happen then? Let me run this again. See that every time it stops, it prints the location of the macro invocation, and each location happens only once. But this one, to continue, is now at 3597, and the next one is also at 3597. Let's print the macro definition, because now I want to see all information. Not macro info, but actually I'm not even sure if I can print the MD itself. MD is a macro definition. No, I can try it. I guess it won't work. That worked. Okay, so the reason it stops is because this is just called twice for the same invocation. Therefore, it's trying to add the same input token twice, namely the function like a macro invocation name. And then it asserts because, yeah, you shouldn't do that. Don't add it twice. The question is really, why the hell is this function being called twice? I would say that should never happen. The first time it's called from here. And I believe that the second time it's called from here. Totally looks like a bug in Clang. No, it is empty. So this return false here means that return token is false. Whatever that is. So I suppose it means that we did not do this. This is not filled in. So result is not filled in. Well, not, and well, we did return false, and result is not filled in. We loop here until a lex function returns a token. This avoids recursion. Yeah, well, I think I'm going to ask someone on IRC, sorry, on Discord. The person is not online at the moment. Can ask anyway, I suppose. I type. I finally have a new question. You can still remember me. I'm lexing my source code. Calling. On the preprocessor to get the next up. The next token is a macro invocation. This lex does the following. Okay. call to curl lexical callback. Calls oops, what? That one again. Which calls which calls which calls which calls which calls which calls the yeah, pp callbacks virtual function or something. Looks like the right thing. Yeah. Okay, it's overridden by my code, which then processes this macro. However, now the lab is called off again. Yeah, no, of course. Where are we? Next. So, however, Clang preprocessor handle macro expanded identifier. Subsequently returns false, which is propagated all the way back to I'm gonna say curl lexical callback returning false. Thus, the above loop calls it again. This then results in again a call to the virtual function macro expense. For the exact same location slash macro invocation. And my program doesn't like that. Is this a bug in Clang? And now the return doesn't work because maybe I misplaced a backtick somewhere. Don't see it. No, actually, never mind. Okay. Now, hopefully, this guy is going to come online now because I did an ad. Otherwise, you'll have to wait till tomorrow, I guess. It is Sunday, you know. So, yeah, I did this not on a monitor here that I'm streaming because it's a LLVM developer. I don't want to give anyone ideas. Yeah. Why is it returning false? That would be a good next question, I suppose. I guess because we want a recursive call. Because we just called enter macro or something. I have no idea. Yeah, it would be true that is returned. Yeah, it can't be macro expanded. So the fact that we want to expand the macro means that we will return it again. You have to enter it again. Yep. But why? Why would I do my callback then already? And why would I do it twice? The callbacks are done here. These are just diagnostics. These also return false. If you start relaxing a macro, enter the macro expansion body. If this macro expands to no tokens, don't bother to push it onto the expansion stack. Only to take it right back off. The weird thing is, of course, that with previous macros, it just worked. I mean, I skipped a few macros. Maybe those don't take any arguments, so we'd have to look at that. Let's have a look at what happens here. So at the moment I do get a call back, we are here. And then I want to know if that then returns false or true, or yeah, why we don't re-enter. If it returns true, I understand why it doesn't re-enter, but otherwise. So I'll run this again. And this is called bonds. And well, for this one, let me create a new one. A new tab. Now this is a macro with an argument. However, the argument is non-existent. So maybe this one doesn't count for that reason. Let's just go to the next one. Okay, 190. That is definitely a macro with an argument, if it is this macro anyway. Could also be that macro. This is a macro without argument. Column 3. So yeah, that's the debug. So this thing does have an argument, I would say. Alt top, no, Control top. So if not macro info is function like, no, I should just return, sorry. Next, add a thing, next, and now we are here. No delay is ambiguous, no, I hope. Num tokens. No. Else num tokens is 1. Is trivial single token expansion. So the other one does not get into this, but we do have only one token, sorry, only one argument. Okay, so it follows the exact same route. But it seems that this is also going to return false. Which then returns again false. Which then returns again false. Which then returns again false. And then brings us here, that is then return token is false, so again returns false. Which I guess also returns false. This would be line, would be this one. I don't know why we got to see that, but this is going to return false. And you gotta be kidding me. Why do I get here then? This thing just returned false. It should have been looped. It should have called it again. What the fuck? Yeah, the log value seems kind of uninitialized. Let's do that again. This was for breakpoint after printing 193. That is here. That was the one. Yep. So, yep, frame 8 is lexing, frame 7 is the while loop. Frame 6 is call. That is going to return that. And so just a call. Also just a call. Just a call. Just a call. Wait a minute, it's not returning. Okay, but we're going to return after this. All the way down here. It takes a while though. return false. So again, this is frame 0, we are going to return false, which means that this is going to return that false, which means that this is going to return that false, which means that this is going to return that false, which means that this is going to return the return token. Well, this is going to be false, which is then returned. Which means that this is going to return false. Which means that we get here with a false, which means that it should call curl lexer callback again. And we now know that it's not going to do that. So what the F? Okay, I'm going to do finish here, and that means that it will leave the current function and print what it returns. Now, it says it returned false, and we left this function. And then obviously, if I do that again, it returned again false, and it left now this function. To do that again, it returned false, and it left that function. I'm doing that again. It returned false, and it left lexer lex. Return token is now also set to false. Definitely going to return false. Finish. Returned false. And we exit the. Sorry, we exit this one actually. We are now here at the closing brace. Is that I don't know why it stops here instead of showing that we maybe the return goes here. I don't know. Yeah, we are now inside of here, so if we do finish, it should print that we return whatever this one returns, so it must be definitely returning false. Yes. So we exited now the CLK lexer, which is probably what this thing is pointing to or something. Yeah, no it is not. Well, CLK token lexer. But it returned false, so I want to see that if I do next, that it's going to go to the enter. Now if I do a step, it must enter this thing again. And I think it does. We entered it again. The next was just being stupid. Okay, so now we're going to enter everything again. Okay, where are we? Token lexer lex. That's weird. Did we even get there before? I don't think we did. Before we went to Lexer and then to Lexer token internal. So how do I end up in token Lexer? Oh, I just stepped into this Lex? Yeah. Yeah, but that is going to return stuff. What the fuck? Did it switch Lexer or something? The current token Lexer seems to have changed. Damn it, really. Restart. Why? Nobody gets it. I'm gonna start it again, then it will run to the same rerun or not? I forgot, hopefully. Nope. does not. Oops, I had to step into that. Yeah, I should have stepped into it. Handle identifier. Now we get into handle macro expanded identifier. That one does. And then we get to, then the callback is being called. I guess that I should have stepped into this. Huh? Or not. Not clear at all. Just lexing it again. Lexing de macro call heb ik beslist. Should have stepped over it. Damn it. I did have a breakpoint here, right? Yeah. Fuck. I should have disabled breakpoints, I mean, before stepping over it. Disable all. Does it work? No. Actually not sure. Yeah, it probably doesn't work. Okay, continue. Continue. I think we have one more. Yeah, it just stops. disable. Disable does seem to work though. Plus I'm at 501 already. Yeah, I did already step over it. I do not have more, I think. Okay, now we're going to do the callbacks. I don't think I've followed all the breakpoints very accurately though. Let me set it didn't like that. What? Ah, never mind. Oh, it's just the next line. Yeah, and we stepped over it. Okay, so next, I guess. Gotta be fucking kidding me. Possible. No. Why? How? It's like all my breakpoints are disabled. Suddenly. Or even the very, very first breakpoint is already not hit. Nah. So, might as well do a step then. Step. Totally want a breakpoint here as well. No. Step. I can just continue to print something. And they fail. Yeah, I don't know. I think I fucked up somewhere. Sucks. Gotta do something else, I think. It's impossible that it gets here without breaking one of my 20 breakpoints. So they must be disabled, right? Yeah, enabled is no on all of them. So I have a comment somewhere that disables them. I have a disable here. Next enable. No, disable next enable. But yeah, one of these must be it. So I'm gonna delete them. Let's delete 29 and 20. No, they are never disabled, so no, it definitely should work. Okay, so to continue, we hit breakpoint 36. Okay. Let's update this list here. I have, this is 8. No, I don't have a breakpoint there. Well, not in my list anyway. Let's add it. So penalty, I have a breakpoint here. And that is breakpoint number 36. And I do a continue. Then we get there. Yep, that is correct. And that is breakpoint number 27. Continue. Okay, and that is breakpoint number 28. Breakpoint 8. No, okay. Breakpoint 8. Breakpoint 12. This is 28 again, so I don't want to see that on. 36 again. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. 27, 28, 36, 27, 28, 8. I wasn't 8, right? No, I wasn't 12. And so on and so on. Okay, disable 36, disable 27, disable 28, disable 8, disable. Well, I want to see if we reach 12 actually. Continue. Breakpoint 1 in 514. Macro expand. Oh, that is my callback. That is very strange, however, because we should first have hit the breakpoint in line 813. Oh, that's one of the things that I deleted. Here, intelligence. And then we have, I had written down 498. Also not there anymore. No, okay, I'll delete those. That is interesting, maybe. just doing. I thought the last one was 12. Oh, I disabled a shitload. That is the reason. Yep. So I can do enable and then all of them are enabled, I think. Yes. And then we do the rerun again. Because I lost where we are. Continue. 36, 27, 28, 8, 12. And then we get an intermezzo. And that takes very long. But in the end we should get at 43. So, oh, that's fast. Or maybe this is not going to print anything yet. It isn't. This is the callback. It should not be able to do that without getting past breakpoint 43. So maybe all of those calls were from the function of 43. It's possible, I guess. And then you try to do a finish and it breaks again. Measure token length. It's been doing that. Yeah, it's annoying that those breakpoints always break. I need tighter control on when they are enabled and not. Okay, now I'm in I am now in token Lexer Lex. Yeah, it did switch. It did switch. I have the feeling if now I do a continue, we'll just crash. It is with testing, because then finally it happens at the moment I expect it. So Lex calls CLK token Lexer, and this now calls token Lexer Lex. While before it was calling, and that of course scrolled off. No way. Or it called this one. So we are now here, and then we stop there, so maybe this one called that. So at the moment that this one calls that, you can go one up and then have a look at that pointer and then see where it is changed. I'm gonna rerun this thing. .28. So that this is indeed Clang Lexer Lex. So I go up, then the current Lexer is a unique pointer, which we can maybe print. Clang Lexer pointer. Let's remember this one. Done later, I guess. Same value. Yeah, and of course I didn't store that value, but can't remember it. It must be different. Type is different. Let's change to 0 here. Probably because it is being assigned. It ain't telling me much. Looks like something that's being constructed, so that would happen in uninitialized memory. So the thing was already destructed and created something new. It's not helping at all. But okay, it happens in enter macro. That's something. So this call kind of changes the lexer, I suppose, then. We now go up till that point where so this now must be 0 then. It just got set to 0. Yeah. Okay, if I do continue, then still 0. Ridiculous. I'm completely lost here. Possible. This is already different. Before this was called and now that one is called. Maybe the value isn't even changing. Token Alexa is called. That would be end of token Alexa. Not helping. Okay. Now, if only I could remember all of this, I could just start debugging the other macro. I'm scared. I'm scared I will not remember. But okay, let's try it. That means I need a breakpoint that is not listed here. Well, actually, isn't it this one? It is this one. Okay, so we disable everything. And then enable 1. Continue. Continue. That one. Now I enable everything again. Breakpoint 28 from what the fuck? Measure token length. That is not what I wanted. I should just have a breakpoint at 521, I think. Let's disable. Break 521. Continue. And delete 59. Enable. Step. Finish then. The switch also switch it to token Lexo. Finish. Let's see. Finish. Next identify. Continue. Finish. Terminal. CLK Lexer. Step. Token Lexer. Step. think this is different. Definitely different. Before, this function returned true. And of course I cannot remember anymore where, but there was a comment saying otherwise return a normal token or something like that. So maybe you can find that back. Yeah, otherwise return a normal token. So now we do this instead of that. Returning true means that the problem doesn't occur. In this case, the problem does occur, and the reason is that we are handling the identifier. Again. Why? Why does this one want to do the handle identifier again? I think I'm just not interested actually in the whole expansion business. I'm just not interested. I'm not going to do that. So since this test exists, maybe that's how to solve it. If we can get this to be false, aka disable macro expansion true, then it will fall through and do that. And recursive expansion. So that is the reason. It's a recursive. And it is expansion. Okay. It should be possible to see in the callback that it's doing a recursive expansion. As in, it continues with something. So, what exactly is it continuing with? It should tell me that. So if I follow this, oh wait a minute, debugger. If you follow this and then and the macro expanded identifier. Nobody knows what that is. Looks like, I mean, since in the end the original, say we are probably we're expanding a macro that is defined using another macro, so it has to do this twice then. But the outer macro, say the one that is defined using the other macro, is still known So if this would be that outer macro the first time or the second time, I don't care, and the other time it cannot be the inner macro, because then it would not know about that anymore, and it does. So this must be twice the same macro, and well, the outer macro. And then this is just simply the definition of that macro. And then that means that what we pass here is twice the same thing. So how does it even know that it is continuing with some recursive expansion? So confused. If doing this twice the same identifier would also be very weird, of course. Yeah, I skipped over it. No. I think the only way to really understand this would be to add debugging output to the Clang itself, but no, not going to do that. Expansion range might be interesting though. So if that is the same, I really want to see what the values are, man. There's like no way that you can see that ID stuff. So you need a source manager to look up what that ID is. And yeah, now we get another callback. That at least prints the stuff. The first identifier is the same. That is the first thing that is passed to the macro expense. So that would be that's the identifier itself. That is indeed the same thing. The outer macro, as it were, which is has a fixed name and is defined here. Period. So this is the one that is the outer macro, and then this is the inner macro, I guess. Yeah, maybe I just didn't look well enough. And for example, something is changing. Maybe I think before we didn't have this information even. Now this one is defined here. Line 73. Which again is also recursive, because alert is also defined. File and line are defined. Also alert is not found. Oh, wait a minute, it's not true. Alert is a class. Oh, no, the macros stop here. Okay, so we just have two macros inside each other. But before I didn't know about, I think, the definition at all. It wasn't printed anyway. So I might not have known about this location, line 73. So yeah, this location is not known. Why is it talking about Elper? Oh, that is the expansion then of it. Oh, column 52. Yep. The whole 37 is known, is part of a lot of this stuff. That stuff. Let me just see those two things at the same time. Oh, this way I do see them at the same time. Sorry, this one. So this is the location of the macro that is in my code. And then here I don't have a spelling location of that. Sorry, here I don't have a spelling location. Here we do. And that is then the line 79 in AI alert. And then we get a location. I guess this is the macro definition. Here we have a different location. Aha! Aha! So that would be a way to recognize it, I think. If the identifier is the same, it's the same location and everything, but the next argument has a different location, then it is being a recursive expansion, because this is now the depth 1. Let's just have a look at it again. Well, first is calling it with this line here. Sorry, column 28, column 10. Okay, it's calling it with this location. That is where the macro that I'm expanding is being defined. And then the second call it is this location, 7310. This is simply the next macro. Alt top, no, control top. You have an end location here. Here too. Parameter list. Here also parameter list. Name alert, VA args. Yeah, blah 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 blah. Oh, the end's there already. Parameter list, alert, VA args. That's all. So just the arguments of parameters then. And then the definition is follows. But yeah, that's all not super interesting for us anyway. So we're not interested in the parameter list really. And we are not interested in the replacement tokens either. That brings me over here. Number of parameters, number of replacement tokens, definition length, is function like, blah 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 blah. Lots of stuff. Then it comes again with a macro that is the main macro. Well, even where it is the invocation is. And then the spelling where the outer macro is defined till again exact same thing, just empty. What does that mean again? A range that is empty means that it is a single token, I believe. Yeah, this is a token range. So I'm just pointing at the first character of the first token and the last token. So since pointing at the same character is pointing at the same token, therefore there's only one token. Then you have the spelling again. Macro again. I don't know, it keeps repeating itself. And then a string literal that we are passing. That was the second call. What about the string literal here? 29, yeah, also have that. So the only thing that really is changing, I guess, is this, which is the second argument. The second argument to macro expands. Which is the macro definition. So this is called for the macro definition of that one. And then again with another macro definition. Which apparently, you have to guess that, is then the macro definition of a macro that was a parameter of... And actually it was it mentioned? So the first call here. Calling it identifier, not very helpful. Could be anything, could also be a normal identifier. But okay, so the first call we get some location with a replacement tokens, including an identifier at that location. And then the second call, this oh, wait a minute, no. It is mentioning it. It says, it gives me a spelling location for 9728. That's this thing. 9728. So the first call, that is the in the as identifier at that point in the replacement tokens. And the second call, it uses that as a spelling location, which is really weird in my eyes, but okay. Mushroom high, yeah, I don't know. A while? No, never have a deadline. I always want to understand everything. So anyone else in the world would have just, skipped this. Like, it doesn't work. If special case, then return. But I like to dive into it until I understand exactly what's going on. And I think I'm approaching that point now. So maybe now it's time to move on. The point being that it's probably not a bug, although it's absolutely not documented, obviously. And very hard to decipher, even for the program. I would have to make a mapping of whatever is being passed, and then we can look things up again, and then almost heuristically guess that it's a recursive call. But I'm not interested in almost any of this information. So in the end, it would be better if the whole problem went away. And I saw that you can turn off expansion of macros, which is maybe what I want. I'm not sure yet, because I did a lot of work already, actually, that makes it possible to have macro expansions. But I can't really think of what I want to do with it for a format. I mean, it would be for formatting the argument of a macro at the moment you call the macro. And then if I would expand the macro and then get what they actually are, because then the macro turns into C++ code, so then the compiler rather is going to tell me what it is. No, I don't have a compiler. But then suddenly it knows what those things are at the level that I want to know. And then I can map that back to the arguments of the macro. Say some arguments might turn into strings or be concatenated with something else and form a new token. But those that don't would then, be detectable, say a plus sign. I could detect that it is after expansion of the macro used as a plus sign in an expression. So it is a plus sign. Therefore, there must be spaces left and right. Yeah, and if I do not do the macro expansion, then I just can't really know that, and then I will leave the macro arguments alone, which is not formatting. Yeah. A plus sign, maybe. Yeah, maybe. If I do say that would be plus is still recognizable. Maybe the minus sign. If you do say my macro x minus 3, then the formatter is going to leave it like this, unless I expand the macro and then figure out that it is really being used like this. So each token here, tokens are stuff that are, there are rules for it. Like a word is a single token. Oops. But apart from the space, these are 3 tokens, and they are used separately. No, it's more than that, because the minus 3 is there are 2 tokens. So I have to somehow recognize that it is not a literal. Anyway, I want to format is of course like that. But yeah, if I would write a plus here, now I must format it like this. So no space here, not a space there. It's like this. Move the plus. But yeah, maybe I can just live with the fact that macro arguments will not be formatted. Because it would be a lot of work. Maybe I should just finish it, and then maybe afterwards, if someone calls me and says, well, if a limousine stops for my door and a guy says, hey, waves with lots of money, then I can implement it, So what was that option? Uh-oh. No, I cannot remember it. It's ridiculous. Oh, wait a minute. I do. The comment. I can remember the comment. So there was otherwise, and then I forgot. Otherwise, treated. I think treated, or add. No, treated. Treat it as a normal token. That's what it is. But there was a comma in it. I guess the comma is after the otherwise. Now, my memory is enter non-existent. I knew that. How about added? Nope. Nope. But the word token was in it. I'm sure of that. Token. Return a non-token. No, a lot of effort. So that is the thing. Disable macro expansion. How can I get that to be set? True if macro expansion is disabled. And this is part of the preprocessor itself. Seriously? No options? Temporarily disable macro expansion. Add a macro context to the top of the include stack. If this one is true, enter token stream. Enter token stream or the token stream. Don't tell me I can't influence it. You can't permanently do it. Lex unexpanded token. Oh shit. Like Lex but disables macro expansions. Huh. So I want to use this then instead of Lex. Oh. Disable macro expansion everywhere except for preprocessor directives. Vadim, yeah. I dream about it often. Usually they don't come with money, but more like, you know, Men in Black, that humanity needs you. And then they take me somewhere that turns out to be aliens and spaceships, and then I have to do my thing. But those are the good dreams. Usually I have nightmares. Now, to be honest, actually, a favorite fantasy of me when I lay in bed is that I'm invincible. I have a whole... That sounds funny now I say it. I have a very extensive fantasy. I could write a book about it, absolutely. There's enough material there about how that works. So it comes down to some kind of force field-ish thing that it has two sides. From one side, it feels like a soap thing, you know, there's just almost nothing. And if you put your hand in it, it just folds around your hand, or it's just I don't know, it doesn't, no resistance at all. and from the other side it stops everything. So it's like a concrete wall, but a steel wall. I mean, way stronger than that. It's completely impenetrable. So if say I fantasize about that in a laboratory where this force field is still being tested, and they have a steel rod clamped into a vise, and the room is divided in two with the force field in the middle, and then the steel rod is on one side of the force field, and I'm on the other side. And then if you move your hand through the force field, well, the force field folds around your hand, and you just move your hand through the steel rod, then the steel rod, like bang! It's completely molested because, yeah, the force field will want to go there. So it has to give way. And that fantasy that evolved, and eventually I have this force field around my whole body, close to the skin, if I want to, and I can blow it up and make it bigger or very close. So completely invincible, or what is the word? Indestructible, or and then in combination with the limo, then the limousine guys come, and I'm like, well, they ask me polite between quotes if I want to come, and I'm like, well, they don't know about my force field, I hope. Maybe they're just coming to pick me up because they learned about the force field and they think it's too dangerous. So I step into the limo, and I think, they can't do anything. If they suddenly draw a pistol and put it against my head, I'll just laugh. But then they bring me to some site where there's a hole in the ground, and they say, yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, the fantasy, but I mean, there must be some reason why they are interested in the hole, of course, in the first place. And they say, well, we sent several agents down in this, how do you call that, this spelunk, and nobody returns. It's just, no matter what we send in, it never comes back. So we want to stop, asking people to go down, because it's just does murder or suicide. But they want me to go down. So clearly they do know about my force field. And they say, well, okay, I go down. And then I have a whole adventure with all kinds of very destructive stuff, which can't touch me because of my force field. But swimming in lava and stuff like that, or being crushed by a few 100 meters of rocks and stuff like that. Yeah, I just wave my arm, and the rocks turn into lava. I make the lava, so if I'm getting crushed, so you go down, and then suddenly, and then I move anyway. So then the rock turns into lava, and swim outside if I want. Yeah, fantasies. Okay, so maybe I should write a book about it. Let me try doing this. If I call this on the preprocessor, then it seems to be a done deal, right? Format.cxx. preprocessor. Where is my preprocessor? I don't have a preprocessor here. Grab source for the is that the capital P? Yeah, processor. 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 Claim front end dot .cxx is getting a preprocessor. Make preprocessor. That's where you want to go. Yes. Yeah, well, find that back. Well, actually, I can find the back. Let me just write this to a file. Line number, let's see if I know that. I don't know, 590 I thought. Nope, okay. Macro expands. Nope, macro. What a mess is this? Oh, it's just source code that is that it is parsing. Getting the feeling that it is not calling my functions anymore now. Ouch. So this is no longer printed. Yeah, that won't work. So you can turn off macro expansion, but then it won't tell you where the macros are. Okay, I'm gonna quit for today. totally tired of it. Nothing works. Nothing ever works. Let's do puzzles. Check. I can just take it. That doesn't work. Yeah, I would say the knight goes here, but yeah. Just intuitively. If, let's say I'm threatening to give check, king moves, and then I give mate. Or this one, yeah. So I'm threatening that, queen takes, I take the queen, and then I take the rook, and I'm completely winning. So there's definitely a threat. The threat would be that I go there. Now suppose the king moves. Can't give check anymore. Definitely sucks. Pawn moves. Escape plays here, or I cannot do anything about. Also not good. Oh, it is this one, of course. Yeah, you know, it's a check, and you threaten to take there. It's two possibilities, right? I mean, rook takes is just mate. Pawn takes is not that much of a problem because I can attack this square with this knight. So then I give check, and then you have to go there with the king, and then this is mate. So pawn takes is not possible. Rook takes is not possible. So the king must move. Yeah, and then I can take the knight, and the king goes here. Attacking my rook. Oh, and then I give mate here. Yeah. No. Check. I don't think we have much options. Two, to be exact. I think king up is the best option here, because otherwise it would be a draw. And I'm a bishop up. Well, Lots of pawn downs, but I haven't seen a puzzle yet where getting a draw is the objective. Why would I give away my bishop? If I go here, it's not mate or something, so I definitely have more chances. And then, are we threatening something? Well, I'm threatening to give check here. And then pick up the rook. For example. I think the infinite check is the worst thing. So if I go here and I place this pawn, threatening to give check here. And then check, 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 check. Then do I have a mate is the question. Before that happens. I'm just gonna move up. And he does do the pawn. So far so good. So now how to give mate? That is the question. There must be a check. So I go to the rook, and then there's two possibilities where I take the rook with check. That's probably good for me. And if the king goes there, then what? Then I have to give check again, right? So I have to give check there, defending my rook. And then the king must go there or there. Okay, so give check here. If the king goes there or there, I just take the rook with check. That must be finishing somehow. And if the king goes back, then we have nothing again. Why is this so difficult? Maybe it's a rook check. If it goes this way, then I can give check again, maybe. Maybe that's it, I don't know. Check. Has to go here, otherwise I take the rook with check. Or go there, of course, but okay. So check, he goes there. Check here. I feel like cheating. If I had a board, then I could just try it out. Oh, I'm very bad at calculating. Yeah, I'm gonna take my time, so I'm gonna stop the stream. I think I'm gonna put it on a chessboard. Aha. So good night. Be back tomorrow.